was before I was 16. I was like 12 or 13. And I worked after school at my brother and sister's nursery, their Montessori school. And I think me working there gave my mom a discount or something like that. But they also paid me like $40 or something like that. And so a lot of my teenage years was me taking care of my little brother and sister. And when I say taking care of them, I really mean that. Like I didn't pay the bills, but I had to. When daycare got out, I was the one walking us home from school. I had to cook dinner and put them to bed. And then my mom.
Today we have a hidden figure on our channel, Sadika, better known as Sadi in her professional life. We're going to talk about how she got to where she is. But before we get there, we are on the road to 100,000 subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscription. You make sure you drop a like and a comment, and make sure you continue to hit that notification bell so that you can get the content when it's fresh out there on the street. So without further ado, I'm Dr. J.
I'm Dr. C.
And welcome to A Two Doc Minds.
Okay, so welcome to our podcast. We would like to bring you into our community of knowledge and sharing, and we are here to teach people or show people that there are options out there. If you're looking to change your life, if you're looking to achieve your goals, if you're looking to do better in anything, these are the inspirational moments that you should take advantage of. So, Sadi, we'd like to get to know you a little bit better on this podcast. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, and what is your little bit of a background about what you do?
Okay, so I was raised in a very multicultural type of environment. My mother had friends from all over the world. Okay. I went to predominantly white schools. My high school was predominantly white. So when I made a decision to go to Lincoln University, Lincoln University is a HBCU. Okay. And so just honestly, when I got there, I was a little struck because I hadn't seen that many of us ever. Right. And so for the first 2 weeks I cried. I begged my mom to come get me. She's like, nope, we paid for that. You're going to stay right there. But by the end of the first semester, I was good. And I was born and raised Muslim. So we were not allowed to interact with the opposite sex. Wow. And so when I got to Lincoln, everybody's everywhere. Kids are everywhere. And so when the guys came to the room, I was just horrified. I was like, oh my God, you're in my room. You're in my room. So it was just like a big culture change for me. Right. So absolutely. It was good for me because I actually experienced two professors that had my parents. And so they were both science majors. And so when I came along, I didn't really have a choice. My parents were like, you're going to be a science major. My dad was like, you're going to take over my business. You're going to be a, gynecologist, obstetrician, whatever. And I never thought to have my own, I never thought about what I wanted to do. So I had their teachers, and that was the first sign to me that I wasn't going to be exactly like my parents because I wasn't good at chemistry, believe it or not. Oh, wow. And so to the point where my one professor who had my parents as students, he was like, how do you come from those two people? Right. And I was like, I don't know. Because we were in the lab and I caused a sheet of aluminum foil to catch fire, and I have no idea how I did it. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and I think the only reason why I passed is because he knew I tried. Like I was the first person there and I was the last person to leave, right? Because I was like, I gotta get this right. But it wasn't because I had to get it right for me, I had to get it right for my parents. Okay. And so
if we can just reflect back on your upbringing, your foundational upbringing, can you look back at some of the things that you experienced going through your household that made you prepare for adulthood? Like, was it strict? Was it loose rules, or and what notes did you take from your parents? Because you mentioned that your parents were very scientific, and they seemed like they were ambitious and a little bit forward thinking because they had a lot of different ideas and different people around them. What type of childhood or what type of upbringing do you think kind of molded you into the adult that you are today?
I think that, so now I'm Christian, but I was raised Muslim. So I come from a very strict household. My mother was a single mom, and she had my brother and my sister. And during all that time, she was still pursuing her PhD. So honestly, my upbringing was me raising my sister and my brother.
Wow.
And so my first job was before I was 16. I was like 12 or 13. And I worked after school at my brother and sister's nursery, their Montessori school. And I think me working there gave my mom a discount or something like that. But they also paid me like $40 or something like that. And so a lot of my teenage years was me taking care of my little brother and sister. And when I say taking care of them, I really mean that. Like I didn't pay the bills, but I had to. When daycare got out, I was the one walking us home from school. I had to cook dinner and put them to bed. And then my mom. Again, we always had this international house. So we always had people in the house from India, Sudan, Nigeria. We always had visitors. We always had people around. And I was, I'm not going to say it's just with Islam. It's with any family that has traditions or whatever. But, the kids back then, we had to do all the cleaning.
That's right.
We had to do all the serving. Yes. We couldn't talk, in the room. All the grown-ups and everybody would be in there. And everybody that was younger than me, I had to do their hair. And all the kids and watch the kids. And so I will say that in adulthood, that experience was good for me. One, because it kept me mostly out of the street. And then secondly, it kept me, I just had more responsibility. I just have a more responsible type of personality than my brothers and sisters.
Yes. Did you experience any challenges? Like, did you feel like you weren't being heard a lot of the times, or that you were kind of being forced into some type of, box when it comes to being, following your own interests and following your own, path? Did you feel like someone was trying to force you into a path that you weren't necessarily interested in?
Absolutely. I wanted to go out with my friends. I wanted to hang out. I wanted to, everybody, my friends would be doing stuff after school I couldn't do. And even when my mom is, I don't want to make it seem like she was a bad mom, because she's not.
No.
But even when she was home, we just weren't allowed outside. And so the funny thing is, we grew up with big dogs, so we had English Mastiffs, right? And so the way that I used to get outside was I'd say, Mom, I'm going to walk the dog. And I would be outside for hours.
When is she coming back?
Yes, I would be outside for hours just to be outside. And the funny thing is, when back in the day, when the world was more community based, you had more than your parents. Everybody was your parents. Everybody, they always told on you. My mom always knew where we were. She'd be like, "Why were you over there?" So I'm like, "How does she know?"
Yes.
So I wanted to hang out more, but looking back on it, it was good, because I could have gotten into some trouble had I been allowed outside and to do whatever I thought I wanted to do. So it was just me and a dog, y'all.
So you mentioned that, you grew up in predominantly white schools in the Philly area. How was it, having, a more strict religion, a lot more strict household where you couldn't get outside, and then also being in an environment that doesn't represent you or potentially you? How was it, in those schools, and just you finding who you are as a strong Black woman? How was that?
That is such a good question, because honestly, growing up around white people, and I'm the only Black person, or there's few and far between, I want to know how come my hair doesn't go like this. I want to know how come my butt is big and nobody else has a butt. And you know what I mean? I want to know how come, and don't forget the socioeconomic dynamic of it.
Absolutely.
My friends have these big, huge houses and they're wealthy, and I'll go home and I live in North Philly. And I live in a row house, with my parents. And so it's a big conflict, and it causes I think, a lot of self-esteem issues. And I remember getting in trouble because, like, one time I really got in trouble really bad because, again, the kids I went to school with were wealthy, right? And so they had all the things, and and I didn't have those things. Right. And so one day I just got upset because I didn't have those things. And this girl, I forget her name, but I'll never forget her face. She had this beautiful, like, sticker book, and I took her stickers. Yeah. I took her stickers, and I got in trouble. But I was just like, I want to have something that these, these kids have. Right. And the thing is, it creates a dynamic for people like me, because I actually have friends that are kind of like in this little group where we had the code switch. So we know how to code switch very well. Absolutely. So and again, I told y'all, I used to live in North Philly.
Yeah. So you had to really code switch.
Yeah. And so I have to, speak a certain way. When I get to school, I have to act a certain way. Oh, yeah. And then when I get home, I can be me. And then, but I'm not really me. I'm not really like the kids that are my neighbors. Yep. And so it's like, it's just a little society of us that we kind of didn't fit in either place. Yes. So it's different, but and I can still code switch. Like people, when people hear me curse, they're like,
"I can't believe you did that."
Oh my gosh, she curses! Yeah. Oh my god! And then when they hear me listening, like I'll never forget. I was with my friends and, like, newer friends from DPW, and we went to a conference. And one day after the conference, we were saying we were going to have it was a little contest, and we were going to say who knew the most songs, right? Yeah. So all them jokers thought that they was going to lose because I was on their team. I knew every rap song. I knew everything. They was looking at me like, yes, Biggie, Tupac, that's me all day, yes. Right? So just don't. I can speak professionally, but don't judge me on that.
Absolutely.
Don't.
So okay, so now that we know a little bit about how you were brought up, and a little bit about your background, your household, and some of the norms that you experienced in high school and the different cultures that you were exposed to, how did you transition to college, and what major? How about that you decided to go into?
Yeah,
you entered into college.
And that's interesting because you went from predominantly white schools. Again, you said HBCU city, and that's a huge transition for someone that's still trying to find who they are. So talk about too in that transition, right? How you began to find yourself through that transition and that experience.
Yes. Okay. So I chose Lincoln University because my parents went there. That was the only reason. Okay. I had no idea what it was going to look like, what it was going to do. Right. I had no idea. I was a biology major because I was told that I had to be a biology major. Okay. I think I had a choice between chemistry and biology is a little bit easier than chemistry. So my life would be because essentially when you're at college, you're free, right? You don't have anybody to tell you what to do and things like that. So that was extremely hard for me because I was used to, never had my own opinion about anything. Yeah. So just me trying to navigate through the sciences, which, believe it or not, I was not good at. Yeah. And being compared to my parents. So, and they are like geniuses, like for real. They're like, they're awesome. Okay. And so I always felt like I'm not as good as them. I'm not meeting the mark. Yeah. But in the meanwhile, because my dad was who he was on campus, they're both in sororities, and my mom's in sorority, dad's in fraternity. So his fraternity brothers knew that I was there, and I couldn't do nothing. Yeah. I couldn't do nothing. Like they would, honestly, they would just be like, even when I thought like I'm gonna be grown, I'm gonna wear this. Right. My mom is not here. Yeah. They would be like, "Where you going? Go back to change your clothes. Change." Well, they used to have the parties, like the dorm parties. Right. I had to be in the coat room.
Oh wow!
I had to take everybody's coat. So. I was protected. I was protected. I wouldn't change that for the world because now being an adult and hearing what happens at college, and seeing what happens to my friends.
Right.
You know, I don't have those experiences, and I'm grateful for some of the things that I got to miss.
Absolutely.
I did have fun. I did pledge.
Yeah.
Pledging for me was a life-changing experience. Yeah. I think I was a little immature for what I was going through. I was the way my parents raised me. If you told me to do something, I was going to do it.
Absolutely.
The thing that I didn't distinguish was everybody that tells you to do something doesn't necessarily have your best interest at heart. But I'm just so used to following directions that I'm like, okay, so I did it. And I was into my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Let the people know.
Yes, I was into it. Everything I do, I give it 100%.
Okay.
So wasn't until my senior year that I started to get the courage to say, I don't want to do this. But it was too late. It was my major. I had done it for 4 years.
Wow.
And so senior year, I had a senior seminar for forensic science.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I like forensic science.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. I graduated, went to Chicago. My first real job was I always been a government employee.
Public
so
sector,
I worked for public sector. So I worked for State of Illinois Department of Human Services. So that's like welfare and stuff like that. So I was a caseworker.
Right.
But they kind of put me on a special project where I had to work with the job. I can't remember what it's called, but we had to get people from welfare to working. And so that was like my project, getting people from welfare to work or whatever. But then after that, I started working for Illinois State Police. I worked in the crime lab. And so I was excited. I loved it, but I was in toxicology. So toxicology is boring.
Oh, no.
It is boring because all we did at the state police was we looked at blood and urine. And every morning I had to go into this refrigerator and see just cups of urine. And I could tell you what you had, what kind of person you were by your urine.
Wow.
And I said, this is not my life.
That's not it.
This is not my life. So then I said, well, I want to do something more exciting. So I applied for a crime scene investigator position.
That sounds exciting.
It was.
Yeah.
At it's the Schaumburg Police Department. So that's like a suburb of Chicago. So that was a great job for me.
Okay.
I got to be nosy. I got to figure things out. I got to see a lot of stuff. And I saw it at a pace that I could actually take it. Because Schaumburg was a suburb, not Baltimore. I don't think I could have handled Baltimore and crime scenes. But I got to do crime scenes. I loved working with murder scenes.
Right.
I love working with this might seem a little weird, but I love working with dead bodies. You know why though? Crime scenes. Don't nobody say nothing. There's nobody to say anything. You're the boss. Whatever you say. If you make a mistake, don't nobody know. So I got into crime scenes. Loved it. I had to get out of crime scenes because I got pregnant.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, with crime scenes, your hours might be 7:30 to 3:30.
That's right.
But if somebody died at 3:15, you're not going home.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, I can't do this because my parents would have to go pick my daughter up. I wasn't married.
Right.
And I just didn't want to put her care off on other people because I had to work. And so I never forget, I had this, you guys mind me telling this one story?
Go ahead. Take your time.
I had this, I love kids. Had this crime scene where it was a little confusing because when I got called to the crime scene, they said, they weren't clear on what the crime scene was. So they were like, it was attempted suicide. So I was confused because I said, suicide is not a crime. Why am I going to this crime scene?
Right.
So I get to the crime scene. The house is a mess. And, but I think that I'm going to a crime scene for an attempted suicide.
Right.
So I don't call my boss. So the rule was if you have like a homicide or something like that, I had to call my supervisor just to let my supervisor know in case we were on the news. And so I'm not thinking it's going to be newsworthy because it's, somebody just tried to kill themselves. Right. But when I get there, then I learn that a father, a boyfriend, molested 2 sons. And so when I get there, I'm taking pictures, not sure what I'm taking pictures of. So I got to take pictures of everything. But then when I get to the hospital, I see these 2 babies that have been abused by mom's boyfriend. So we're taking pictures. We have to be careful because bones are broken, and you know how hard it is to break babies' bones. So it was like a really hard case for me. My partner came in, and we did that. We did everything we were supposed to do. We took all the pictures, we took all the evidence, and we wound up on the news. So instead of being praised for doing a good job, we got in trouble because we didn't call my boss. Okay. And so, but we were just, it wasn't like intentional. We were just into it. It was emotional. Yeah. And we were like, let's just get it done so we can get out of here. And we immediately called her like afterwards. So I literally got suspended for that. Oh, wow. And so I was like, and much like, I'm sure you guys know, when the suspension is given, it's not necessarily quick. So I was given the suspension, but I didn't actually have the days for like weeks. And so I was angry. No. And so I said, I'm gonna apply for another job. I'm moving. That is when I actually applied for a job in Baltimore City. Okay. Wow. Okay. And I thought about it because I have a sister that lives here. She had a daycare. Okay. And I was like, okay, there's somebody that my daughter can go to daycare with that I trust. Right. And I'm going to find a job. And I have to work in a lab. Yeah. Okay. And so I came here. I did apply for the state of Maryland, the medical examiner's office. I did apply for Baltimore City, crime scene unit. Okay. And I applied for DPW. Yeah. Okay. So I got the job at the medical examiner's office, but then now I'm a mom. Now I'm older. Yep. I'm a mom. And I said, do I want to look at dead bodies all day? Yeah. I don't have a problem with the dead bodies, right? But do I want this to be my everyday intake? Right. And so I was like, I don't think that'll be good for my spirit. So I didn't take that job. So then I got interviewed for the Baltimore City crime scene. Right. Y'all not gonna believe this. I didn't pass the polygraph. But let me tell you what they asked me. What? They asked me if I had ever robbed a bank. I was like, no. Oh no. I never robbed a bank. I don't know how those systems work. It came up that I didn't tell the truth. And I robbed a bank. They were asking me some really crazy questions, y'all. And I think I was I don't know why I failed it, but I was so shocked by the questions they were asking me, because they were asking me like, I don't know the proper word for it, but when human beings have sexual relationships with animals, like they were asking me stuff like that. Okay, like, this is throwing me off. Yeah, that's what you were thinking in your head, huh? So I didn't get the job because I failed. I said, okay, I robbed a bank, and I think they asked me like if I took cocaine. Never took cocaine a day in my life, but it didn't. I promise y'all I didn't. But it came out, and I don't know which question, said that I failed. But when I was telling my mother about it, I was just like, well, these are the weird questions that they asked me. Right. I don't know. So anyway, I got the job at DPW. Yeah, that's wonderful. But when you're reflecting back on just that little small trajectory of that transition, because you were saying that you were working in the crime unit in Chicago, I believe. And then you said, I don't really like this. This is not me. And you was like, was that, no? No, I loved it, but I just became a mom. Yeah, I mean, if things weren't working or playing out like you were saying, you were looking at the urine and the blood, that ain't me. Oh, the urine part. Oh, yeah, toxicology. Yes. Yeah, toxicology, and it start to build up, and you start to hear you take little notes, and you start to feel it in your spirit, like this is not working. Let me apply to something in Baltimore where I said I would never work in the crime scene, but now something has changed. And all of these little notes are happening, and so there's messages happening. Okay. How do you think that there's something in the universe telling you maybe Baltimore and these things are happening because I need them in my life, and I'm starting to make better different decisions for myself. Do you feel like something was navigating you towards making decisions like
taking the job in the city of Baltimore? It worked out so perfect because you had a child, and now you working for the city of Baltimore, and you're in a different job and gig that's not as stressful as toxicology, crime scenes and stuff like that.
That's a very good question. I will say at the time, no. I'll say at the time it was just a struggle with, I got to be a good mom. I got to provide a good life for my daughter. And I think it was a convenience, like the pieces did fall in place, but I don't think at the time I was thinking of it like that.
Right.
I was thinking of it like, okay, my daughter can go here.
Right.
I can do this job. I can, I have a stable schedule. I don't have to. So I think that's how I was thinking of it at the time. But when I look back on it, yes, I say that was meant to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Because all the pieces fell in place.
Right.
I bought my first house. Like, I was in Baltimore for 9 months and I bought my first house.
Wow.
My daughter had her own room. And so I think
that's amazing.
when I was at that level, I was just like, okay, I got to focus on what I got to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really thinking of the plan that God had for me.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
And that's great. So you made the transition from, I guess, the suburbs of Chicago into Philly and now into Baltimore. Now, you lived in 3 very unique cities.
Yes.
Let's keep it like that. So talk about how those experiences are, because Chicago is unique in itself. Just surviving a winter in Chicago is rough, right?
Yes.
And then getting down to Philly and really, a blue collar town, and then going to Baltimore. Talk about those experiences and how that, allowed you to grow just as a person.
So Philly was first.
Yep.
And like I said, I lived in North Philly. I lived all over North Philly. We moved a lot. And I was just in the element. I was in the element. I didn't know that there was a world outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I thought I was once I got out, because the way my mom kept me so strict, it bumps up your ability to sneak out and do stuff without your parents knowing. Yeah. So I was kind of bad. Like I went to one of the best high schools in Philadelphia. And we would cut school.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We would cut school and we would go.
You robbed a bank.
We would cut school and we would drink, and I didn't really have a problem with boys, but I would drink and I would cut school, and me and my girlfriends, and we would fight. We were just in the element. We didn't know anything different.
Right.
Then going to Chicago, it's a different kind of ghetto.
Yeah.
It's like a country mix.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
It's a country mix.
Okay.
And there are things there that I had never seen before. Like, Chicago used to have a whole, section of it that was just projects.
Yeah.
And
High rises.
High rises.
Yeah.
And they're scary.
Yeah.
In Philly, you're not scared to go into the projects. We went, because I used to think they were apartment buildings. I used to be like, apartment buildings? They were projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you go to Chicago, you're like,
it's real. Okay.
oh, okay. I don't know what I was thinking. This is
It's
it.
different.
Yeah.
This is different.
Right.
So, but when I got to Chicago, we lived right outside we lived on the west side of Chicago. And then as my mom got more successful, we moved outside, right outside of Chicago. Okay. But me growing up in the ghetto, I always wanted to keep that identity.
Right.
So I kind of stayed in Chicago. And then, they say you could take the person out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the person. So I always had that. I always had that little that part of me. But it made me not afraid to move into Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely.
It made me I was not afraid. And so I moved into the ghetto. I lived around the corner from Ashburton.
Okay.
Yeah, off of Fulton Avenue.
I know.
Yes, I did. Me and my daughter. And I loved it. And then as you're kind of progressing. So now you're thinking about, oh, shoot, where's my daughter going to go to school?
Correct.
So then I had to figure out a way to get her. I didn't want her to go to a city school because they had a bad reputation. So I wanted her to go to county school. So I literally, how did I get her into that school? I might have lied. I might have lied.
Use somebody else's address.
Yeah, use somebody else's address. And then
You finessed it.
I think I finessed it, and then I actually wound up moving into it, which this is weird, but I moved into an apartment in the county and rented out my house so my kid could go to school.
Okay.
Out there.
Yeah.
So, and then, that's how I got to Baltimore.
We often look at ourselves and we look at our journey. And we, like I see you speaking about your past experiences, saying I wasn't such a great kid and I made maybe not such the great choices. But it sounds like you made a lot of great choices. And I do want to reflect and respect that. And I want you to actually share with people some of the great accomplishments that you feel like some of the great decisions that you made up until you got to your career as it is today. Can you reflect some, like you did make some good things happen? I mean, kids are kids. Yeah. And I think what you described is just normal experiences. And you're curious. And I'm wondering what you're built up. Who are you? And it's not common that you see somebody, especially coming from the background that you come from, in science, engineering, in that field. So there's somebody looking at you and saying, okay, she did it. What choices can I make like her, even though I've made maybe similar choices? What can I do to move myself into this direction of being a leader in my field?
Yeah.
What I would say is, one, apply.
Yeah.
Whether you think you are eligible or not, whatever you think about yourself, apply. Put yourself in a position where you're gonna stand out.
Yeah.
You have to work towards exactly what you want. So say, for instance, if you want to be a scientist and maybe the job isn't available right then, make sure you go and ask for tours. Make sure you go and ask, can you shadow?
Okay.
Talk to your science professors. Talk to the people who are in the places where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now we have social media and all that, so it's easy to click on to get in somebody's group, science group, and to get on, just meet whoever you want to meet, really.
Yeah.
Right. LinkedIn, whatever, and just ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions.
Right.
Don't be afraid to go after what you want, and even though you might not get the job, volunteer. Put yourself in a position where you'll meet people who are doing what you
Absolutely.
want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you're in Baltimore, right? And you're settling in. Talk about your first position and then kind of how you progressed to where you are now.
Okay. So my first position was a chemist 1. So we have steps, like you have chem 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
So I was a chemist 1. Didn't know anything about water. Didn't know anything about water.
Yep.
And so it was, at first, it was just a job for me. The more I learned, the more I loved it.
Okay.
Because the more I realized how important my job was,
right.
I loved it more.
That's
it
powerful.
made me want to learn more.
Right.
It made me want to do things the correct way.
Oh, wow.
It made me want everything to be better. Like our processes, our, everything to be better. Because I was like, wow, we are the reason why people have good water.
Yeah.
Right.
And so once I realized that, I just started getting into it. And I started asking, how do you do this? Because, you come in doing a certain level of work, right? And then you see the people around you doing higher levels of work. And so I just started asking the question, how you do that? I want to do this. How you do that? And so that's how I eventually moved up, because I would come in on the weekends when I didn't have to work and watch somebody else work.
That's what.
Or come in, because sometimes we would have days off during the week. I would take the day off, come into work so I could watch someone work on an instrument.
Wow.
That is very important.
Wow.
That I didn't know how to work.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people don't understand that. A lot of times your supervisor don't get that.
Right. Right.
And
Absolutely.
so my challenges have been that I have been a little bit more curious and a little bit more, I wanted to learn more. I was a little bit more ambitious than I think they were ready or they had ever experienced. Correct. And so they always questioned like my motives. They always questioned, they always, and I was just like, I just want to learn.
Right.
I just want to learn.
So what do you advise people when someone's questioning you and you have this drive? Because I've experienced that as well. And I entered, into a new field and I was really ambitious, as you say, and I was really curious and I really wanted to do well. So I did a step above what they requested, but I didn't get the response that I wanted. But somehow you have to still push through that. What is that called? That drive? Where do you get that from? Where do you pull that from? How do you continue to just go up and get up in the next morning and say, I'm gonna do this again?
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
And I'm gonna rock it out. Basically, when somebody tells you no, you take that energy and you turn it around. You tell me no. Sometimes it works in bad. It works out. It don't work out too good for you, but because somebody could be like, no, you really don't need that thing, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get it because you told me no. But and when somebody tells you no, you take that energy, you turn it around, and you make that make that energy your energy to get done what you want done. And then when you find, because my story is really a little kooky here because they really had an issue with how ambitious I was, and so. And you know this for the culture, for Baltimore City culture, they will start doing things to literally stop your progress. So that's how I got involved with the union. Because I was like, you're not going to stop my progress. You're not going to punish me for wanting to learn more. You're not going to punish me for wanting to excel. And so I had to kind of get my power from the union, honestly. I had to get my power from the union so that people would back up off of me so that I could do what I needed to do in the workplace. And so the thing about it is, it wasn't that I was doing something bad. I was doing something good. But then, you have to deal with people that may be, concerned that you're trying to take their job or something like that. Whatever it is. I don't know what that is. But that's how I had to get my backing to do what I wanted to do, which was to excel. I didn't want to be a Chem 1 all my life.
Correct.
I wanted to learn everything in the lab. And so that's how I did it.
That's amazing.
And one of the things that we talk about a lot on our channel is, as you progress, you get more haters. Right? You get more folks that are, to your point, questioning your motives. Are you trying to take something from me because you're trying to excel, right? And people sometimes just want to maintain, right? And when you're around a lot of folks that just want to maintain, when you're trying to push it forward, it may shed bad light on them, right? Explain how you got over that and then begin to continue to move into your career.
So
I like to laugh.
So first, it was prayer. Not gonna lie.
Okay.
I was like, Jesus, tell me what to do, because I had a battle. Like, I want to do this.
Yes.
I am being stifled. It caused depression. It caused anger. It caused stress.
Okay.
And God told me, go to work and do what you're supposed to do. Be the best at what you do. Don't worry about the rest, because the rest is not about you.
Right.
Honestly, the rest is not about you. So when I shifted my focus from what this person did to me, what that person did to me, to, you know what? I'm going to do whatever they asked me to do. I'm going to just do it. She asked me to do something stupid. I'm going to just do it.
No.
And I'm going to do it 100%, and I'm going to get it done. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to learn this machine.
Okay.
So I would get my work done. I came in at 7:30. I would have my work done by 11:30. And then I would focus on what I wanted to focus on in that lab. And I'm just going to say God. And even when I moved over to wastewater side, I had some issues like that there. But I was already at a place where I'm like, that's your issue. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm going to, if I have to respectfully step around you, I'm going to step around you.
Okay.
I think I still do that to this day.
Yeah.
So explain, when you say you're a chemist and you're working with water and wastewater, explain to our audience not only what that means, but how it impacts everyone. Because it's probably one of the most important jobs. And you as a African American woman,
Yes.
right? You don't hear or see you doing this, so you're in a space that doesn't traditionally reflect you. So how did you keep going and doing that, and how did you? It's almost like you fell into that space, right?
I fought for that space.
Yeah. So talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So my industry is predominantly white male.
Okay.
And I found myself fighting to be in the room, fighting to be in the conversation. And I felt like I needed to know what they knew, and plus be able to keep up with politics and sports.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I literally would, when I was at home, I would study that stuff, study sports, study politics. So when they had these men conversations in the lab,
you could keep up.
I could interject. I had an opinion, and I was right because I did my research.
Right.
And so they had to respect me.
Okay.
They had to respect me. And so everybody drinks water. Everybody bathes.
Yes.
Our water comes from our reservoirs, which it's all part of the water cycle. So, water comes down, evaporation, precipitation, all that stuff. So once that water hits Earth, it switches over to what we call an urban water cycle.
Okay.
And the urban water cycle is where we're taking that natural water and we are treating it so that we as humans can use it. And so what we do at the labs is that we are a part of the process of checking to see that the water is safe.
Yes.
And that it is compliant with federal regulations so that people can drink it, bathe in it, use it, whatever. Then once you cross over, so the process is that it comes, we have our condensation, it comes into our reservoirs and comes to the earth. Then we're treating it. We pull it in, we're treating it. Then it goes out to distribution. So it goes out to communities and then they use it.
Yes.
So after they use it, our process is still continuing because then we have to clean it so that it can go back into nature. And so the water takes a number of different avenues because sometimes you have water that's reused. Sometimes you just have water that's just going back into our bays and our rivers and things like that. You have water for irrigation purposes for state properties and things like that. So the water does a bunch of different things.
Yes.
But the bottom line is we have to make sure that the water is safe to go back into the environment so that it doesn't kill the fish in the water, the water life. And a lot of people don't really get that because on the freshwater side, we say, if we don't do our jobs, people die. On the wastewater side, we say, if we don't do our jobs, the fish die. But then, essentially, it comes around to people because we eat fish, we eat seafood, we eat plants. All of that water, it's it's a big cycle.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that we're taking care of it. It's a big industry. It is. We need more women. We need more diversity. There, and it affects everyone.
Yes.
It affects everyone.
So, and when you have the young teachers in the high schools, or not necessarily young teachers, but our leadership in schools, and they talk to you about what the best careers are, and say, oh, yes, if you want to do anything great, be an accountant, be a lawyer, or try to be the president. I think more conversation should be had about like this. And thank you for explaining what you do in such a very valuable way. What would you tell young people about an option to do this great work that you're doing?
So very good question. So we have a program in the city. Which one was it? It was Youth Works.
Yes.
I think we have Youth Works, and then we have a couple of different things.
Be More Secure. We got Youth Works.
So what I would fight for is because usually when these kids would come in, they would automatically send them to operations, or automatically send them to labor or maintenance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would say, no, give me some.
Yeah.
Give me some. Bring them in the lab.
Right.
I want some of these kids in the lab. They shouldn't only see
Right.
labor positions,
Absolutely.
operator positions. They need to see everything. When we have tours, I always made it a point to say, you're here at the water plant. However, these are the array of jobs that you can get with DPW.
Yeah.
Right.
And I start from the labor all the way up to engineers, the director, I let them see there's a lot more to DPW than labor and maintenance. Yeah. And so I'm always pushing for education.
Absolutely.
Always. Even when they have their the youth works or whatever it is, I have worked with the plants to say, let me have the kids for a session.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me have them for a session. Let them come in the lab. Let them see what we do. Let them see us in the lab.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could put this on the podcast, but I hire black children.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Because we don't get that.
Absolutely.
Everybody else looks out for theirs.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking out for ours.
Yeah.
And so then I want the other kids to come in and see other black children with a lab coat on working in the lab.
Absolutely.
When my staff comes in, I always from the bat, I say, you're not here to learn how to be a chemist. You're here to learn how to be a leader.
Yes.
I am going to teach you how to run a lab, not just be in the lab. You're going to learn how to run a lab.
Important.
And I don't think they get it all the time and then sometimes they don't like it because I'm pushing. And I'm always pushing education, and I'm always pushing, okay, don't tell me what somebody told you.
Right.
I want you to give me the reference.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I want you to give me a reference because I want us to be educated.
Absolutely.
And I want us to be able to stand on our own. And so that's what I tell the kids that come in. And I think we had an interview on the news one day, and I said it then. I said, don't be afraid. I know that chemistry is hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
I didn't pass it the first 2 times.
Yeah.
It's hard, but don't be afraid of it, especially if you like it. Come on in. Don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't be afraid to say what you need to say. And I also let them know we are all learning.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We are all learning.
Continuous learning.
Yes. Don't feel like any question is dumb. Let's sit here and let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I
for
want
that.
your opinion. You tell me how you think, because in my mind, I'm 51. So I'm like, I'm thinking differently than you may think. You may bring something else to the table, and I have to constantly tell, because I got baby boomers, I got millennials, I got the new generation, and I said everybody has something to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
So let's learn what everybody has to bring to the table, and let's make this thing work.
Yeah.
I'm inclusive of everybody.
I like that.
Yeah, so let's run this back, right? So you started as a chemist. Tell us your story about where you are now and those 4, 5, 6 steps that you took forward to get where you are. And then we'll start talking about some of the great things that you've done since you've been in there.
Okay, so I was Chem 1, had moved up to Chem 2, moved up to Chem 3. So there's 4 labs in DPW, 4
And
water
tell them what
labs.
DPW is.
Oh, Department of Public Works.
Okay.
City of Baltimore.
All right.
Baltimore. So I was a Chem 1 at Ashburton. I was a Chem 2 at Montebello. I was a Chem 3 back at Ashburton.
Wow.
And then I got promoted to supervisor, and that's when I went to the wastewater side. So Ashburton and Montebello are fresh water, drinking water. And so I actually became a manager over on the wastewater side.
Okay.
So did that answer your question?
Yeah, no.
So
that's your journey.
I learned a lot. The part that and then I also had the union all of that whole time. So at the same time, I'm meeting a lot of people. I'm meeting people from everywhere for union purposes. So not only am I learning what I'm doing in the lab, I'm learning what everybody else is doing.
Wow.
Because of the union.
Correct.
Different positions, different people, and people are like, how do you know that person?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people because of the union. And then I served on the exec board for the union. So I was the political person. And so I was the person who had to go to all the fundraisers. I was the person who had to determine how much we were going to give to this politician. I was the person, so then that way, not only did I expand with DPW, Department of Public Works, I also expanded politically. I got to meet people because I was on that committee for the union.
Right.
So got to meet a lot of people, very resourceful. So when I got to wastewater as a manager, it was there were a lot of challenges there, but I just brought what I knew from freshwater. I brought what I knew from just life learning. being all around the city with the union. And I just ran with it.
Yeah.
I just ran with it. But I will also say that I had managers who supported.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do it without you guys because they got the money. They got the money,
That's
right?
a different
I have to get permission from them. And so I think when you have good support, you can do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can do so
Absolutely.
much. And I just took it and ran with it. So I was a supervisor for Patapsco Lab. And then a year later, I got the position as an administrator over Back River and Patapsco Labs.
Yeah.
And so I just took it and ran with it.
That's amazing.
And I was allowed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I basically I took a lot of challenges. It was a lot of challenges because I had to deal with culture, the culture of the labs. You know, people had been there for 40, 50 years, and were used to doing things a certain way.
Yeah.
I'm younger than them, so they're
Right.
looking at me like, "You're gonna tell me what to do?"
Right.
And then there's the whole safety. We needed new equipment. I was like, we're just gonna do it, and I took it. I took the pushback. I just took it with a grain of salt. Well, it wasn't. They thought it was a grain of salt. It wasn't. It wasn't.
You made it look like it.
Yes, I would be home like so upset. I was like, oh my gosh. And but I got up every morning because I said, this is for me. I want these labs to work.
Okay.
And that was it for me. I wanted the labs to work, so I was going to get it done. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on, like you said, you kept pushing, you kept trying to move it upward in mobility in your career. What are your thoughts on those individuals that are sitting in their careers and don't really believe that they can move or they can have a better career or get higher pay, or they're just complacent in their positions? What are your thoughts and what advice would you provide them?
I would say, one, don't be complacent unless that's just really what you want. You know, some people, that's their goal. They don't want to excel. But if you do want to excel, ask the questions. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You want that salary? Ask for it.
Right.
See what happens.
Right. Just give it a chance.
No is a no.
Yeah.
And then what? You keep going.
Right.
You keep going. So whatever that question is, whatever that thing is you want to do, do it. I think I was the first. I wasn't the first person. I was the second person in the lab to apply for a scholarship to go to short course. Yeah. And so my boss was just like, you apply for a scholarship? Yeah, because I want to go. Yeah. I know you're not going to pay for it. I want to go. I need to learn what I want to learn. Initiative. And yes, you got to have that initiative. You just got to do it. You have to go after what you want. Yes. You have to. Absolutely. I don't know where you get that energy from. I think that, I know there's a saying, you'll get tired of your status quo when there's no more room, when it's choking you out. Wow. Yeah. And then you have to do something different. Yeah. Okay. And so just do it. I mean, you can wait till it chokes you out, or you can just avoid that. And go after it.
So I received a text from you a few weeks ago about some major accomplishment that you had in your labs. Yeah. Let's talk about that accomplishment. You know, where you started, you know, where those labs were, and talk about how, again, you're pushing the envelope. Yeah. You're not striving for mediocrity. You're striving to advance things. Talk about how you had that vision to get there, what it took to get there, and how you feel now that you accomplished that goal, and what's next for you.
Okay, so let's see. So Patapsco Lab, which was my first lab as a manager. Okay. Yeah. When I got there, the lab was not under what they call permit. So it's like wastewater's equivalent of a certification, right? So I got there, the lab was, it was not safe. The equipment was old, and the people were just there. They were the people that were content with, you know, I'm going to work here for 3 more years and I'm going to retire. And so when I got there with all of my energy, I instantly, first things first, I had to deal with safety, right? And so had to deal with safety. I think at that point, no, you weren't there yet. I don't think you were there yet. When did you come?
2021.
Okay, so this was 2020. We were in COVID.
Okay.
We were in COVID. And that was hard too, because I couldn't.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't even be afraid because I had to show face for my employees because we had to come to work.
Yeah.
So, but I literally started from ground zero, and I didn't know. I wasn't afraid to ask. I don't know safety, so I said I need a safety person to come in here and do an audit. And I said, and I think I told you or Yosef, I said, the three of us can walk in a room and see three different things based on our background.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know what's the safety rules. So I had the safety people come in. I called the state. Said, Ron, I need you to come in and show me what we got to do. What do we have to do? What's the problem? And so he started giving me. I was asking. The labs were not really in good communication with the plant. So I took my happy self downstairs. That's how I met Neil. I was like, Neil, listen, this is what we're here for you. Tell me what you need from us. And so it was a process. Trying to figure out one, what we were doing, what you needed, why were we there? You know, how can we make this
work?
And so I changed a little bit because wastewater is full of men, and sometimes they feel like it's just their party. That's it. And so I had to come in. I had to be a little loud, and I'm a little short, so they just looking down at me, and my voice might be a little high, and so at first they were just like, "Who is this? Get out of here, little girl!" And then I had to get loud. I had to get loud, and I wasn't comfortable.
Right.
I was always on the defensive because I didn't know wastewater. But I was like, but I'm going to learn and you're going to teach me.
Right.
Because you're going to get tired of me. And people will tell you, I will email you to death. Okay. And you will say, I don't want another email from Sadika. So let's get it done. And so that's how I operated. I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I got our safety at 100%.
Wow.
I got us new equipment.
Okay.
Then I had to work on the culture. Culture was hard. But I was like, I had to keep saying it. Look, guys. Then I think by this time, you guys came in with the best in class, and I took that and ran with it. I was like, oh, yeah, best in class. Because I wanted to change our brand. I was like, I went in there, I was like, we are going to change our brand.
Oh, right.
Period. We're going to change it. And I don't think I said it this way, but it was kind of like, you could either get on a boat or you can get left. You can get left back there. And so, I had to say it 100 times, but now they got it. But I had to say it 100. I had to fight through it. I had to fight through it and come back and fight through it and let them know that they weren't going to win. You're not going to win. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to say the same thing again and we're going to do it. We're going to follow these rules. We're going to learn what we're doing here. A lot of people there, and even on the freshwater side, even me, when you get there, you have a recipe book. This is what you do. This is what you do. You never knew why you did what you did.
Right.
You had to take it a step further if you wanted to know. And so I'm that person. Why are we doing this? And if you can't answer my question, we're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to open this book and we're going to figure it out together.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. We learned together because they knew what they were doing physically, but they didn't know why. They didn't know how they tied in with the plants. They didn't know, they didn't have the bigger picture. So I was like, we're getting ready to learn this together. And I was not embarrassed that I didn't know. I wasn't embarrassed that I had to have people that worked for me teach me. I'm like, teach me. You're the subject matter expert.
Absolutely.
Teach me.
Absolutely.
What I'm promising you is that I'm going to take you to another level. But you got to help me help this whole situation.
Absolutely.
And so that's the attitude I took. When I got both labs, it was very hard. We had procurement issues. The regular stuff that people have, and a lot of, this is how we used to do it, and this is how we've been doing it for 30 years. And then you have the whole, I got African kings. I'm a prince and I'm a king in Africa. Okay, I'm gonna let you tell your whole story once you get finished. So this is what we're gonna do today. I'm glad that you a king. I'm glad that you know, whatever.
Let's get to work.
So, I had a lot of people who were actually pissed that I was there.
Yeah.
Pissed. I've been threatened. People threatened physically.
Yeah.
And and that was a big thing for me because I was a fighter.
Yeah.
And so, but now I can't be a fighter because I can lose my job.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
now I gotta look at you and say, how? And that's a lot of energy
Yeah.
to pull back in. You know what I'm saying? So I'll never forget. I had one employee tell me she felt like slapping me, and I looked. I said, "Oh, she think because I can speak English that I'm not a thug.
And I'm not from West Philly. I'm not from West Philly.
You know what I'm saying?" I said, but then I had to like regroup really quick and say, you know what? While we're here, we're gonna be professional.
Okay.
I said we all have feelings. We're gonna be professional.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's just the way I carry. And I've had to be pulled back sometimes. Neil has saved my tail.
Yeah.
He has saved my tail. We were in a grievance one time, and the employee was just lying on me, and I said, my body language starts to change again. Neil's under the table trying to kick me, like, don't calm down. So, you have to get there.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but you learn. You learn, and I'm learning still, and you guys have taught me a lot. I love Yosef as a boss. He was so good.
Yes.
He kind of also gave me my wings.
Yeah.
Because he's just
Let you free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And so he had the faith in me to do what I needed to do, and he let me do it. He let me do it, and I will always appreciate
So
that.
talk about where those labs at today.
Today we have Patapsco is under permit for two of the analysis. We have another set of analysis to go through. That it's actually finished. There's a whole process with the state. So the state has to come in and check our data and all that stuff. And so I got the one lab under permit. Now I'm working on the second lab.
And what does that mean?
Wow.
What does that mean?
What, under permit?
Yeah.
So what
folks,
happens? Okay. So
I know what it means. But
right.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you work for water and wastewater, we have city regulations, we have state regulations, and federal regulations. I should be talking to the camera. And so we have to make sure that we meet all of those regulations. In the process, what happens is the plants, they're treating the water, they're treating the wastewater. Those treatment processes have to meet certain standards. So the labs come in to tell you to analyze the water to be able to tell the plant, okay, you're within standard or you're within acceptable limits.
Right.
All of that information goes to the state, which eventually gets looked at by the federal government. So your labs have to be certified or under permit in order, because it's the quality assurance needed to say that the results that you're giving, the data that you're giving us is good data.
Right.
And so because the two labs on the wastewater side were not under permit, the city had to go in contract with third-party lab. And so these third-party labs have been the ones who have been getting our samples from our treatment process, analyzing them, and reporting those numbers to the state. And so, excuse me, I don't know if you knew this, but before I got the wastewater side, the supervisor at Patapsco and the plant manager got into it. Men. Got into it.
Yeah.
Decided they didn't want to talk to each other anymore. And cost the city hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Because they didn't want to talk.
Right.
And so the lab got separated from them. The supervisor in the lab didn't want to talk to MDE for whatever reason, Maryland Department of the Environment, our regulator.
Right.
So the supervisor there didn't want to talk to the regulator. And so the regulator said, okay, fine, shut you down.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it happened, but all the powers that be at the time allowed this to go on, and it cost this city millions of dollars. And so one of the other things that I enjoy saying is that now that we're back under permit, we're getting ready to save the city so much money.
Correct.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To pull stuff back from the third party lab.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
So that is a great accomplishment.
Absolutely.
So we are under permit for one of our labs. We are starting to save the city money. The employees there have a higher sense of value.
Yes.
They understand that what they're doing is important. I've had people tell me, Sadie, I was just going to retire, but I've learned so much with you. I think I'm going to stay around. So that's the kind of thing I like to hear.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I love to have a good relationship with the staff. People just were not in a good place, and so I was like, we're gonna change this, because I remember being in a place where I didn't want to come to work, and I don't want that for people. We have stuff outside work.
Right.
Why should work be so hard and difficult, and we don't want to come?
Absolutely.
No, let's get our work done. Let's have a good time. Let's be professional. Let's be cordial to each other, and let's see where it goes. And we've been moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, and one of the things that you notice when you're an effective leader, and I think you're a more than an effective leader, is when you're holding people accountable. Folks, yes, it's initially tough to go through that change, because people are resistant to that change. But like you said, when you're persistent, right? When you have goals in mind, when when you're treating people fair, right? Eventually they turn.
Yes.
Right? It's some nights you go home and say, I'm going to have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Right? Talk to me about that change, because most people give up. Yeah. And you didn't. Talk to us about that.
That's a good question. I did want to give up. I did. There were so many days where I was just like, I can't do this. There's plenty of days where I didn't even make it home. I went straight to Applebee's, to the bar. Straight to the bar. I will say that, again, the support helped me deal with those days. One of my greatest, one of the accomplishments that I really feel is that now my staff, I'm not gonna say they like me, but I think they like me. I think they like me. I think they know that I'm gonna fight for them. Am I answering your question?
No,
yes,
ahead.
you are. Keep going.
That I'm gonna fight for them. They know that I truly want them to do good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I really don't know how to verbalize the transition from going from the person that's just pushing, nobody likes you, to finally getting over to that other side where everybody's like, oh, this is what she meant.
Yeah.
This is what she, but we are there now.
Yeah.
We are there, like, okay, now I understand, now I get it. I just really think that just and bringing other people in, like, who want to be in this thing, just don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I say that, I mean, don't get caught up in your title. Don't get caught up in your title. We all important here. Yes. From the people that come to collect the trash, to the people that are making the decisions. And I always kept the rapport with my staff, like, we're all staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just got more responsibilities than y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so, you make sure that everybody feels important.
Yep.
As a leader, know your people. Know your people. So I can go to work and I can tell you this person was battling cancer in their breast. and they're better now, and I'm gonna ask about it. And I know that she has a son and a granddaughter that live with her. This guy, I know he just got married, and he lives in Pennsylvania, and he doesn't have children of his own, but all his children are his stepchildren that he loves. I know that this person over here, her husband has diabetes, and she has to deal with that when she gets home. You got to know your people. You got to build that connection with your people. Absolutely. And then once they know that you see them as a human being, not only does it help you as a leader, it helps them. It helps them help you get the job done.
Yes.
And I think that's important when you're making that transition over to the other side.
Correct.
You have a good working relationship with your people. And even if you're not a manager, even if you're coming up through the ranks,
absolutely,
do the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speak. How you doing?
Yeah.
How you doing? How's your cat?
Yeah.
How's your dog? How's your mom? You know what I mean? Because that also is going to push you into leadership.
Yep.
Because when people like you, they're going to be like, oh yeah, she the one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's the one. And I've had some situations. So I had my son passed away, and the lab staff took care of me. Okay. They put me at Montebello, and they put me in a place where if I wanted to interact with people, I could. If I didn't want to, I didn't. But you know why they cared? Because I always care about people. I always talk to people. I always have conversations. I always making people laugh. Let's laugh. Let's we here for 8 hours or more here in DBW, but let's not necessarily be friends, but that's what I would say. Let's be friends.
Like Sesame Street.
Yes. And so when you care about people and you take care of people, it gets reciprocated.
Absolutely.
And it also helps you go up through the ranks.
Yes.
It's just like your husband was surprised when, am I allowed to say sorry?
No, go ahead.
Fine.
Was surprised when I sent you this endearing message when I found out he was leaving. I was like,
oh no.
And I sent him this message, and I was just like, I forget everything that I said, but I said what was on my mind,
Right.
And I wasn't afraid to say it, and I wasn't afraid. I probably overstepped my balance. I talked about you too. I said,
like, I won't say it.
That's love. I was like, that's love. Your wife just came over here with you. You just gave up your life, and I make sure that people know the human side of me.
Absolutely.
And that I see the human side of them.
Yes.
And my mother always told me, make sure people know how to say your name, because it's not an easy name.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Make sure they can say your name.
See? Oh, my goodness. Thank you for that.
So for all those folks out there, right, that are trying to get over that hump, right, trying to find their true north, trying to, understand where they're coming from, right, and where they want to go. And, sometimes they may feel like there's some roadblocks, some hurdles in their way. What would you say to them?
I would say learn to be resourceful. I would say one monkey doesn't stop a show. I would say get out there. There's so many opportunities now that there weren't back then, where you can network and find your way to where you want to go.
Yeah.
You got to find your way there.
Yes.
There's never one way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be resourceful. You cannot give up. You can't give up. You have to, if you got to go around some folks, respectfully go around the folks.
Yes.
Don't be disrespectful, but respectfully do everything that you have to do. Be professional about it. I don't care what industry you're in, you go to those conferences. You know what I mean? If your job won't pay for it, you got to pay for it. You got to make that sacrifice. You got to pay for it. I've paid for conferences.
Yes.
And you meet people, and you take your resume, and you take your card, and you go in there. Don't be shy. Ask the question. Walk up to people. Ask the question.
Right. Right. Yeah. I like that.
Right. When you, a lot of times we feel like when we go to conferences and stuff, we can't talk to the person that's on the stage. Wait till that presentation is over. Stay behind and talk and ask every question you want to ask.
I like that.
And don't be afraid. No, but everybody's human. Everybody's human. Just talk to that person. Just go right up to them and talk to them.
That's very good advice.
Yeah.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
On this channel, we like to ask our guests,
okay,
if you could change anything in the journey that you just shared with us, the wonderful journey, and thank you for sharing your story. It's so inspirational. What would you change?
What would I change? I'm going to say there's some things that I may wish that I hadn't gone through, but I don't think I want to change anything because it makes me who I am right now. Mm-hmm. It makes me, all the things that I am is the experiences that I've had. And so if I take any of those things away, how does it change? How would it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Would I be this person?
Yeah.
Right. Would I be right here? I think every experience you have is a reason. I'm very, I believe in God. Jesus is my main man. And I think he knows what's best. He knows the greater good. And I think that everything that you go through is a purpose for it, whether we like it or not.
Right.
It's a purpose for it. So, you know, there's going to be some things that we don't want to go through that we wish we hadn't gone through. But even with the serious things like losing a kid.
Yeah.
So, you're always wondering, what did I do? What did I do? Am I being punished? But guess what? Now I can talk to the next person about losing a child.
Yeah.
And what you're going to go through.
Yeah.
And what how you push through it. And so everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't, of course you don't want to lose your kid, but it happened for a reason. So I think I wouldn't be who I am if everything didn't happen to me that has happened.
And all more important to share your story.
Yeah.
I think, like, again, thank you so much. I want to watch this over and over again because these are nuggets that everybody should hear.
Okay.
This is something that somebody needs to hear. At least one person is going to be in their space and they'll be like, okay, I get it now. Yeah. I got to do this in this way and do it different. And I'm on the right path, at least confirming that I'm doing the right things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just do it.
So one last question, our last question that we always ask. It's all about leadership and you and your leadership role. Do you think leaders are born or do you think leaders are developed over time?
I'm going to say both. I'm going to say both. Some people got it in them. You can see it from when they're a kid. And then some people are fortunate enough to be open enough to learn.
Okay.
And which one do you think you are?
I think I'm going to say I think I was a born leader. I've been leading since I was young.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been leading since I was young.
I like it.
Well, you heard it from Sadika.
Yes.
A true hidden figure.
Yes.
That no matter what obstacle was in her life, she went after it.
Yep.
Right. And we're excited to have you share your journey with us. Right. We're excited about all the things that's in front of you.
It's just getting started.
It's just getting started. So we want to thank you for being on our show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
And so we want to make sure that all you all that's looking at the content, we want to make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, you hit the notification bell.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. C.
And I'm Dr. J.
See you next time.